The text message glowed on my phone screen at 2 a.m. I need to speak with you first thing tomorrow. My office. My stomach dropped. After 3 years as Emma Chen's executive assistant, I knew that tone. Something was wrong. What I couldn't have known was that her urgent matter would involve a marriage proposal that would change both our lives forever. If you're enjoying this story of unexpected love and complicated choices, please hit that like button and subscribe to catch more stories that will tug at your heartstrings and keep you on the edge of your seat. My name is Lucas Mitchell. At 32, I was a single father to my 6-year-old daughter Lily, working as an executive assistant to Emma Chen, the formidable CEO of Horizon Innovations. My life was a carefully balanced act of school drop-offs, work deadlines, and trying to be both mom and dad to a little girl who still asked when mommy was coming back from heaven. That morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual, my mind racing with possibilities. Was I being fired? Had I made some catastrophic error on the Johnson merger documents? Emma's office door was closed, unusual for this early hour. I knocked tentatively. "Come in, Lucas." Emma sat behind her imposing glass desk, immaculate as always in a tailored charcoal suit, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek bun. At 38, she commanded respect in every room she entered. Brilliant, driven, and utterly intimidating to most people. But after 3 years working closely with her, I'd glimpsed the rare moments of vulnerability beneath her polished exterior. "Please, sit down," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. I sat, bracing myself. "I need to get married," she announced without preamble. I blinked, certain I'd misheard. "I'm sorry." "I need to get married," she repeated, her voice steady but with an undercurrent of tension I rarely heard. "For 1 year. And I want you to be my husband." The silence that followed felt endless. "Is this a joke?" I finally managed. Emma never joked about business, and apparently, she didn't joke about marriage either. She explained that her grandmother in China was dying. The family matriarch had one final wish, to see Emma settled before she passed. In Chinese culture, family was everything, and at 38, Emma's unmarried status was a source of deep concern for her grandmother. "My grandmother controls 30% of the company shares," Emma continued. "If she dies disappointed in me, those shares go to my cousin Richard, who will immediately sell to our competitors." I understood the business implications immediately. Emma had built Horizon from the ground up. Losing those shares would devastate everything she'd worked for. "So you need a fake husband to show your grandmother before she passes?" I clarified. "Yes. For 1 year. We marry, you move into my penthouse with your daughter, we present as a happy family, and when my grandmother passes and the shares are secure, we divorce amicably. I'll pay you $500,000. The amount made my head spin. With that money, I could pay off my crushing student debt, start a college fund for Lily, maybe even put a down payment on a small house. Security I'd never imagined possible as a single dad. But then reality crashed in. What about Lily? She's already lost her mother. I can't put her through another loss when this arrangement ends. Emma's expression softened slightly. We'll explain it to her in age-appropriate terms. And I'm not heartless, Lucas. I wouldn't cut her off completely afterward. I sat back, mind reeling. And what exactly would this arrangement entail? Would we be? I hesitated, then asked the question that would later become infamous in our story, same bed? Emma's composed expression cracked slightly, a flush rising to her cheeks. Separate bedrooms, of course. This is a business arrangement, nothing more. I nodded, relieved yet somehow also disappointed in a way I wasn't ready to examine. I need time to think about this, I said finally. You have until tomorrow, Emma replied, already returning to her computer screen. My grandmother doesn't have much time left. That night, After tucking Lily into bed with her favorite story about the brave princess who saved herself, I sat on my worn couch in our small apartment, weighing impossible choices. The financial security was undeniable. But what about the emotional cost? What would this teach Lily about love and marriage? And what about my own heart? I'd kept it carefully guarded since losing Sarah to cancer 3 years ago, focusing solely on raising our daughter and surviving day to day. And then there was Emma herself, my boss, a woman I respected immensely but who kept everyone, including me, at arm's length. Could we convincingly play a loving couple? Would living together for a year change our carefully maintained professional relationship? My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Have you decided? I stared at those 4 words for a long time before responding. I have questions. Her reply came immediately. Come over. We'll discuss details. An hour later, after arranging for my neighbor to listen for Lily, I stood outside Emma's penthouse apartment, heart pounding as if I were about to step off a cliff. Emma opened the door looking transformed. Gone was the power suit and severe bun. Instead, she wore silk pajamas, her long hair loose around her shoulders. Without her usual armor, she seemed younger, more vulnerable. Come in, she said, stepping aside. The penthouse was exactly what I'd expected, minimalist, expensive, and impeccably designed, yet strangely impersonal. No family photos, no mementos, nothing that revealed the woman behind the success. Would you like some wine? She offered, already pouring 2 glasses. I accepted, needing something to steady my nerves. Emma, this is crazy. We can't just get married. Why not? People enter marriages of convenience all the time. Not people with a 6-year-old daughter who's already experienced profound loss. Emma's expression softened. I've thought about Lily. She's a wonderful child, Lucas. You've done an amazing job with her. I would never do anything to hurt her. You barely know her, I pointed out. I know she loves dinosaurs and hates peas. I know she has your smile and her mother's eyes. I know she's struggling in math but excelling in reading. At my surprised look, Emma shrugged. You talk about her all the time. I listen. Something shifted in my chest. I hadn't realized Emma had been paying such close attention. There would have to be rules, I said, surprising myself. Was I actually considering this? Of course. I've drafted an agreement. She retrieved a folder from the coffee table and handed it to me. Of course she had. Emma Chen never entered any situation unprepared. I flipped through the document, detailed, comprehensive, covering everything from living arrangements to public appearances to the division of household expenses. You've thought of everything, I murmured. Not quite everything, Emma said quietly. I can't predict how this will affect us personally. Or Lily. It was the first time I'd heard uncertainty in her voice, and it made her suddenly, startlingly human. Why me? I asked the question that had been burning in my mind. You could have chosen anyone, someone without the complication of a child, someone from your social circle. Emma was quiet for a long moment, swirling the wine in her glass. I trust you, Lucas. You're discreet, reliable, and you understand the business implications. And... She hesitated, you're kind. That matters more than I usually admit. Our eyes met, and for a moment, I glimpsed something beneath her carefully constructed facade, loneliness that mirrored my own. I'll do it, I heard myself say. But Lily comes first, always. If at any point this hurts her, the deal is off, money or no money. Emma nodded solemnly. Agreed. We clinked glasses, sealing a bargain that would change everything. Telling Lily was the hardest part. We decided on a simplified version of the truth, that Emma and I cared about each other and wanted to become a family, but that we would be taking things slowly. Like a trial run? Lily asked, her small face serious as she processed this information. Something like that, I agreed, amazed at her perception. Does this mean I get 2 bedrooms? She asked, practical as always. Emma, who had insisted on being present for this conversation, laughed, a genuine sound I'd rarely heard from her. Yes, you'll have your own room at my place, and we can decorate it however you like. Lily's eyes widened. Can it be purple? With stars on the ceiling? Absolutely, Emma promised. And just like that, Lily was on board, her adaptability both a relief and a reminder of how children can surprise us with their resilience. The wedding was a small, private affair at City Hall, with only Lily and Emma's assistant May as witnesses. Emma wore a simple cream suit, I wore my only good tie, and Lily insisted on throwing flower petals despite the lack of an aisle to walk down. When the justice of the peace pronounced us husband and wife, there was an awkward moment when we both hesitated, unsure of the expected kiss. Finally, Emma leaned in and pressed her lips briefly to mine, a businesslike gesture that nonetheless sent an unexpected current through me. You may now update your relationship status, Lily announced solemnly, making both of us laugh and breaking the tension. That evening, we moved our belongings into Emma's penthouse. It felt surreal carrying our worn suitcases into the sleek elevator, Lily clutching her beloved stuffed triceratops, chattering excitedly about her new purple bedroom. Emma had been true to her word. The room was painted a soft lavender, with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling and a new bookshelf filled with children's books. Lily's eyes grew wide as she explored. This is the best room ever, she declared, throwing her arms around Emma's waist in an impulsive hug. I watched Emma freeze momentarily before awkwardly patting Lily's back, clearly unused to such displays of affection. Something about her discomfort touched me deeply. Later, after Lily was asleep, Emma showed me to my room, a tastefully decorated guest suite at the opposite end of the hallway from her master bedroom. I hope this is comfortable, she said formally, as if I were a houseguest rather than her new husband. It's perfect, I assured her, though the king-sized bed looked impossibly empty. Good night, then, she said, lingering in the doorway. Good night, Emma. As she turned to leave, I called after her, thank you. For Lily's room. You didn't have to go to so much trouble. She paused, her back to me. I want her to feel at home here. It was the first hint that perhaps this arrangement might be more than just business for Emma too. The first weeks of our fake marriage were an exercise in careful navigation. We established routines. I would make breakfast while Emma prepared for early meetings. She would leave first, and I would take Lily to school before heading to the office myself. At work, we maintained our professional relationship, though the whispers were inevitable when my new marital status became known. Some assumed I'd slept my way to the top, others thought Emma had lost her mind. We ignored the gossip and focused on the tasks at hand. In the evenings, we'd return home separately, and I would cook dinner while Emma finished work calls. We'd eat together, the three of us, in a strange domestic tableau that felt increasingly less strange as days passed. Lily, adaptable as children often are, thrived in the new arrangement. She loved the building's swimming pool, the doorman who always had a high five for her, and especially the way Emma would patiently help with her math homework, explaining concepts in ways that finally made sense to her. Emma's smart, Lily informed me one night as I tucked her in. Like, really smart. Even smarter than you, Daddy. She certainly is, I agreed, smiling at my daughter's assessment. And pretty, Lily continued thoughtfully. Do you think she's pretty? The question caught me off guard. Yes, she's very pretty. Then why don't you kiss her? Married people are supposed to kiss. Out of the mouths of babes. It's complicated, sweetheart. Lily sighed with the exasperation only a 6-year-old can muster. Grown-ups always say that when they don't want to explain things. She wasn't wrong. The truth was, living with Emma was revealing a side of her I'd never seen at work. The formidable CEO who struck fear into boardrooms full of men was also someone who color-coded her tea collection, who read dense historical biographies before bed, who couldn't cook to save her life but made excellent coffee. And yes, she was beautiful, not just in the obvious way that turned heads when she entered rooms, but in smaller moments, concentrating on a document, her brow furrowed, laughing unexpectedly at Lily's knock-knock jokes, standing on the balcony at night, looking out at the city lights. I was noticing these things more and more, and it was becoming increasingly difficult to remember that our marriage was just a business arrangement with an expiration date. 1 month into our arrangement, Emma's grandmother arrived from China. Mei Ling Chen was a tiny woman with a spine of steel and piercing eyes that seemed to see right through pretense. I was terrified of her. "So this is the man you have chosen," she said to Emma in Mandarin as we greeted her at the airport. I didn't understand the words, but the skeptical tone needed no translation. "Yes, Nai," Emma replied respectfully. "This is Lucas, my husband. And his daughter, Lily." Lily, oblivious to the tension, stepped forward and offered the elderly woman a drawing she'd made specially for the occasion, a family portrait showing the three of us plus a small figure labeled Great-Grandma. Mei Ling's stern expression softened as she accepted the drawing. She said something to Lily in Mandarin, and though Lily couldn't understand the words, she beamed at the gentle tone. "She says your picture is very beautiful, and that you have a kind heart," Emma translated. The drive home was tense, with Mei Ling asking Emma rapid-fire questions in Mandarin. From Emma's increasingly tight expression, I gathered the interrogation wasn't going well. That night, after Lily was asleep and Mei Ling had retired to the guest room, Emma paced our living room, agitated. "She doesn't believe us," she said, running a hand through her hair. "She says no real husband would sleep in a separate bedroom." My heart rate quickened. "What did you tell her?" "That you're respectful of my work schedule and need for space." Emma stopped pacing and faced me. She didn't buy it. "She's threatening to call Richard tomorrow." Panic flared. All of this would be for nothing if Mei Ling saw through our charade. "What do we do?" I asked. Emma's eyes met mine, determination and something else flickering in their depths. "We convince her. Starting now." She moved my belongings into her bedroom while I stood frozen in the doorway, watching as she made space in her closet, cleared a drawer in her dresser, placed my book on the nightstand beside hers. "There," she said, stepping back to survey her work. "Now it looks like we share a room." "And do we?" I asked, my mouth suddenly dry. Emma's composure faltered for just a moment. "It's the logical solution. We can't risk her discovering the truth." That night, we lay side by side in Emma's king-sized bed, a careful foot of space between us, both staring at the ceiling. "This is ridiculous," Emma finally said. "We're adults. We can share a bed without it being awkward." "Absolutely," I agreed, though my racing heart suggested otherwise. "Good night, Lucas." "Good night, Emma." Neither of us slept much that first night. Living with Mei Ling required a level of performance I hadn't anticipated. Every interaction needed to convey genuine affection. Every glance, every casual touch had to seem natural, not calculated. To my surprise, Emma excelled at this pretense. She would touch my arm when speaking to me, rest her hand on my shoulder as she passed, even occasionally kiss my cheek when her grandmother was watching. Each contact sent a jolt through me that became increasingly difficult to ignore. "You're very good at this," I murmured one evening as we prepared dinner together, Emma standing closer than necessary as Mei Ling observed from the living room. "I'm motivated," she replied quietly. "Besides, it's not as difficult as I expected." Our eyes met, and for a moment, the act fell away, leaving something raw and real in its place. Then Lily bounded into the kitchen, breaking the spell. "Can we have ice cream after dinner?" she asked, looking hopefully between us. "What do you think?" Emma deferred to me, her hand still resting lightly on my arm. "I think